Today I'm going to go over how to deploy an Unreal dedicated server project to Amazon GameLift so that you can get multiple clients playing in the same game. I'm hoping the people watching this are somewhat familiar with Unreal Engine. For those unfamiliar with GameLift, GameLift is a service for deploying, operating, and scaling session-based multiplayer game servers in the cloud. This tutorial is going to be very simple, just getting different players in a game session. So I'm not going to go over more advanced features such as matchmaking or queues. I'll try to go over those in a future tutorial. So first, just open up Unreal Engine. I already have it open up, but just to note, at the time of this recording, I'm currently using version 4.21. So let's create a new project. I'm already here in the new project tab. Also, I went to the C++ tab and select third person and name your project anything you want. So I'll just call mine GameLift tutorial and then click create project. In order to build a dedicated server, you need to build the source version of Unreal Engine. In order to get the source version of Unreal Engine, you need to go to the Epic Games GitHub. But in order to have access to that, you have to connect your GitHub account in your Epic Games account. In order to do this, just sign in to epicgames.com and then go to your username and then click account here, and then it'll take you to this page where you have to then go to the connected accounts tab. And then here you can connect your GitHub account to your Epic Games account. Once you do that, then you'll now have access to this repository that basically holds the source code to Unreal Engine. And then from here, you should, of course, download the zip. Once you have finished downloading Unreal Engine, proceed to right-click the file and extract the files. While the files are being extracted, I just want to make a quick note that I would not recommend extracting the files to the downloads folder. Me personally, I have my engine in the documents folder. This is just because I know this is a safe place where I won't accidentally delete the engine. But if you've already started extracting the files, don't worry. Once the extraction is done, just move the engine to whatever folder you want. Once the files have been extracted, open the folder. And you're going to notice that when you extracted it, an extra file was created. So like I said before, move this folder to pretty much a place you know where you won't accidentally delete it. I know before I said documents, but just for this demo, I'm just going to move it to the downloads folder. Now there's actually a very important reason for doing this, because that extra folder makes the file path really long, and this can cause errors when running the files in the next few steps. So make sure you do this. Next up, we're going to install some files from Visual Studio. So just go down and look up the Visual Studio installer, run this program, and once it loads up, it's taking a while, but yeah, once it's loaded up, go to the Visual Studio build tools or Visual Studio community, either one's fine. Click on more, go to modify, and then go to individual components. And first few things you're going to want to install are both the .NET frameworks 4.5 and 4.6.1. For 4.6.1, I have the SDK and the targeting pack both installed. I'm not 100% sure if you need both installed, but I have both installed, so just be safe, just install both of them, because if you don't, you're going to get errors later on, which can be really annoying to deal with. Also, another thing you're going to want is the Visual Studio 2015 V140 toolset. This will be needed later for building the library and DLL files regarding to Amazon GameLift. So then once you've selected those, then this update should be, you should be able to click this. And just in case, if you did do it for one, go to the other one, click modify, and just make sure that the components are installed for both Visual Studio and the build tools. Again, I'm not 100% sure if you need it for both, but it's good to be safe than sorry. Once you've installed those Visual Studio components, go back to the folder where your Unreal Engine source is located and look for the Windows batch file called Setup. Right click this, click Run as Administrator, let that run, and then once that's finished running, go to your command prompt, right click this, run that as an administrator, and then you're going to want to CD into the location of your Unreal Engine source. So type in CD and then copy and paste the path of your engine, click enter, and from here you're going to want to type in generate project files.bat-2017. This is important. Press enter. Again, I'm not going to do this because I've already done it. Once you've let that batch file run, you're going to now see a UE4.solution file pop up. Just to show you, I've already done this. So if I go to that, you can see UE4.sln. This will show up after you successfully ran setup.bat and generate project files.bat. So now double click this to open it. You will know that Visual Studio has finished loading up if it says ready on the bottom left here. Now you're going to want to build the Unreal Engine. So before you do that, make sure your settings are right up here. Make sure development editor is selected as well as Windows 64, and then right click this UE4 program under the engine folder and then just click build. Now this process is going to take a long time. Just a reference, my computer is pretty good and it still took me hours, so you may want to pause the video and then come back later once your engine is finished building. Also, just another note, I have heard that people have experienced issues when building lighting, and to fix that, right click this file called Unreal Light Mask, which is under the programs folder, and do the same thing you did as before. Just right click and select build. Once you have finally finished building Unreal Engine, go to where your Unreal project was located and go to specifically the source folder, and I'm going to want you to copy and paste this editor.target file into the source folder, and then you're going to want to rename this so that it's now name of your project server.target.cs, and you're going to want to open this up. I guess I'm opening it up in Visual Studio. You can edit this in Notepad anywhere really, but so these two lines we're going to keep the same because we still want to import those two namespaces. Now, of course, it's no longer going to be called editor target. It's going to be the server target now. And above this line, we're going to add an annotation for the supported platform. Whoops. Just to tell it that this is a server file. And inside it's going to be pretty much the same. Again, just replace all instances of editor to server, and it's just as simple as that. Just save this file, exit out, go back to the folder, but now exit out the source folder and go back to the main directory where your project is located. Right click the U project file and then click on switch Unreal Engine version and select your source build. If it's not one of the options listed, you're going to have to click on the three dots and then just look for the location of your Unreal Engine source. So just press OK, and you're going to see it's going to be generating the project files. Note that you may be reprompted to rebuild the project, so just press yes. In the meantime, you can go to aws.amazon.com/GameLift/getting-started, where you can scroll down and you will find the download for the Amazon GameLift server SDK, so just proceed to download that. Now, in order to build the Amazon GameLift server DLL and lib files, you're also going to have to install, if you don't have it, CMake. So just go to cmake.org/download and then just do what's easiest for you. I just tend to do the installer. And you're also going to need the Microsoft build tools. And yes, it does have to be 2015 because you can only use 2015 tools to build the server SDK. So just build download. And then once you have done downloading those, you're gonna have to go and edit your environment variables so that you can actually use the CMake and MS-build commands. So just did what I just did, search for environment variables. And then once you're here, click environment variables, it'll take you here, click on the path, edit it, and just add 2 new variables for the paths of the CMake and MS-build libraries. You can pause it here and look what I did. I had a path to the bin folder in the CMake folder, and I also had a path to the bin folder of MS-build /14.0. So just press OK. Also, while we were doing that, our build finished for Unreal, and it seems to be working, no issues. Of course, you can test it just by playing it, and still it's fine. So let's proceed to move on. Back to the environment variables actually. So you actually do have to add a new variable, and you're going to have to call this VC targets path. And the value for this is going to be, at least in my case, it was C:/ /program files x86 /MS-build /Microsoft CPP /v4.0 /v140 and press OK there. Now you're going to need this because the build tools used for just the server SDK have to be the 2015 tools. That's why you have to set this variable for the target's path. Otherwise, it's going to use your 2017 build tools instead. What I would recommend is once you've finished the server SDK step, just generating the DLL and lib files, go back to your environment variables and delete this variable because eventually you will want to use the 2017 tools again. Once you have finished downloading the server SDK, proceed to extract the files. And we're going to do something similar to what we did before regarding the long file name, or the long file path, I should say. So just to make this really simple, I'm going to take this even a step further. I'm just going to go into the extracted files, go into GameLift, and then go into the GameLift SDK release folder, and then this GameLift CPP server SDK folder, I'm just going to put this in the downloads folder just to avoid that file path issue happening again. And before we proceed, go back to the Visual Studio installer. I forgot something because you will actually need something for CMake with regards to Visual Studio. So go to more, go to modify here. And you're going to want to go to individual components, and you're going to scroll down. It's right above debugging and testing. It's called Visual C++ Tools for CMake. You're going to want to check that, and then of course install it. I already have this installed, so I'm not going to do it again. Once that installation is done, proceed to go back to where that GameLift C++ server folder was. And you're going to want to copy this file path because we are going to go back into command prompt, run it as administrator. It's again, and you're going to want to cd into that location. And then once you're here, we're going to make a new folder called out and then cd into it. And this is where we actually call it CMake. So CMake-G, double quotes, Visual Studio 14 2015. I know that on their website they say you can use the 2017 build tools, but I have tried that and it's not worked. So if someone can tell me that it does work, please tell me so. All right, after that, you're going to type in Win64, close off with another double quote, then a dash in all caps dbuild _4 Unreal equal 1 space dot dot and run that. And this is going to take a bit. Now that the cmake command has finished, we are going to run the msbuild command. So type in msbuild and in all caps all underscore build dot, not in all caps, vcxproj space // I believe /p colon configuration with a capital C equals release with a capital C, and let that run. This should take a while as well. After the msbuild command is finished, you should see a message similar to this telling you the number of warnings as well as 0 errors. Now, to make sure that everything has worked, go to your GameLift CPP server SDK folder, then go to the out folder, then go to prefix, and you're gonna have to check 2 folders in here for a specific file. Go to bin, you should see this DLL file right here that I'm selected on. Go back to prefix, now go to lib. You should also see this specific lib file that I am selected on. Now you are going to want to copy both of them. So first, let me get a new file explorer. Let's go to downloads, go to the original GameLift folder from the very beginning that you extracted. Go to GameLift SDK release, then go to the GameLift Unreal plugin. Go to UE 4.21 because that's the version we're using. Go to GameLift Server SDK. Go to third party. Go to GameLift Server SDK. Go to Win64. And you are going to literally copy and paste the lib and DLL file I just talked about from the prefix folders into this folder. So now your GameLift Server SDK third party GameLift Server SDK Win64 folder should look something like this. By the way, now that we have generated these files and we know we've generated these files, you can go back to the environment variables and get rid of that VC targets path variable like I said before. Now that we have this, go back to the directory holding this GameLift Server SDK folder, not the one inside the third party folder, but the one directly under the Unreal plugin folder. Copy this. Now go to your project, your Unreal project, and create a new folder called plugins. And in this folder, just copy and paste that GameLift Server SDK folder and everything should be there. Then I'm going to go to the project directory and right click on the EU project file and edit it with Notepad++, since if you open it, it won't open in Visual Studio, it'll just open in Unreal like it's supposed to. Now you see this modules section here. We're going to be adding a comma and then adding a new section called plugins, like so, which is like modules, just another array. So we're gonna have to use a pair of square brackets here, and then inside the elements are going to be sectioned off by squiggly brackets. So inside this squiggly bracket, the name is going to be GameLift Server SDK, and we are going to enable it. So set it to true. Save that. Now we're going to go back to our project directory here and click on the source folder and then go to the name of your project folder and go to this build.cs file. We're going to be editing it because now we have to include the GameLift Server SDK module by just adding it to the end of this add range function. Just like that. Save it, close it, close the uproject file, close Unreal, and go back to our project directory and open it again. And again, it's going to ask you to rebuild because you changed some files. Just click yes and wait for this to build. Once your project is finished loading up, to make sure that your plugin has been successfully added, go to edit up here, then select plugins. And we are on built-in right now, but this is a third-party plugin, so go to the project tab on the left here and you should see the GameLift Server SDK. And if you do see this, that means you have successfully added this SDK to your project. Okay, let's go back to our project, go to File, and select Open Visual Studio. While that's loading up, I just want to refer to you guys this documentation for Amazon GameLift online. So I will provide this link in the description, or you guys can pause this video and type the link out right now. Once you get to this page, scroll down to the section titled Add Amazon GameLift Code. And what you're basically going to do is you're going to copy and paste this code and add it to your game mode file, which should be in the games folder on the right here, name of your project, the source folder, name of your project, and then the game mode file. So I'm just going to copy and paste that code here. All the stuff from the original constructor you should copy and paste into this new code at the beginning before the hashtag if with GameLift. And you should also change in the copy and pasted code this name, a GameLift FPS, to a name of your project. So mine's a GameLift tutorial, for example, and basically just replace all instances of that to the name of your project. So even in these include statements that could be very pesky, I'm just gonna copy and paste them everywhere. I don't have a HUD, so I can get rid of that. I do have a character. GameLift FPS, yep, nope. Mine's called GameLift tutorial. And then this stuff, you should probably keep this uObject include statement, delete that, and then move it down here, and then just get rid of the old code. And that should be fine. Save that, and then build your, oh, is there an issue? There might be, but let's just build the project under the games folder here. It's interesting, just a fair warning with Unreal Engine source, sometimes there will just be red lines even though there's no error. So just a fair warning. And there are errors actually, sorry about that. Expected to be first header included. Okay, so I had a feeling that was right. So actually Amazon's own code is wrong. The include statement for the name of the file has to be first. So build it again. And this time it should work.